Hello and welcome to Ground Tales. This is your host Suchita. Have you ever crossed Delhi's Okhla, Bhalswa, or Ghazipur dumpsites? These three landfills collectively cover over 200 acres of land and carry 28 million tons of legacy waste. The piles of rotting food, clothes, plastic, e waste, etc., all dumped together make a recipe for disaster as these mounds of trash pollute the earth and our water bodies and generate huge amounts of methane, a greenhouse gas, leading to global warming. It's not just Delhi NCR. Many megacities in India have one or two such dump sites which are an eyesore, and you want to get out of that place holding your breath as soon as possible. But this is all our waste, all mixed up and thrown up irresponsibly. Segregating this amount of waste is next to impossible, but our municipality workers constantly work against the clock and try to do their bit. However, small lifestyle changes and some good practices can reduce this problem in the future. Like previous generations who used to reuse, repair, and recycle products, taking a leaf out of their book can actually limit this problem to quite an extent, and many people in the country are already doing it. Today, we have with us two such individuals, Shipra Agrawal and Ritika Chawla, who practice a low waste lifestyle. These two young women made the change many years back and continue to inspire others around them. So, Shipra, welcome to Ground Tales. My first question to you is, what do you mean when you say a zero waste or a low waste lifestyle?
Our aim is to really encourage folks to reduce their waste as much as possible. And with the waste that's generated, follow three simple principles, which is segregate, compost, and recycle. And with that, we can significantly reduce the amount of waste we send to landfills or dumping grounds.
Shipra has facilitated over 700 hours of sessions with children and adults in schools, colleges, offices, public spaces, etc. She leads a minimal waste lifestyle, discards less than a bag full of waste each year, and loves to look at new ways to reduce her daily waste. As a passionate sustainability educator, she leads sustainability engagements and zero waste offices at Scrap. So, Shipra, how did you start on this path? What made you make this change?
It's interesting that you asked me this in the year 2023 because exactly a decade ago is when my journey really started. I think it started because I came across this video on the Mandur landfill, which is one of the many landfills outside Bangalore, where Bangalore's waste has been going for many, many years, and what that really does to the land and to the people who live around it. And that really got me thinking. It was just a video clipping, but with that, I got so interested that I was pursuing a master's in development at that time. And I made sure that most of my research projects surround around this one topic. So I started with one research project on waste management in my neighborhood. And then that led to visiting something called a dry waste collection center. These are places that are made either by the government, by the municipality, local municipality, or in a public-private partnership, which is what is in a lot of Bangalore's dry waste collection centers or DWCCs. And once I visited it, I could see my neighborhood's waste there. It was like a large, big pile of unsorted waste, some of it smelling, some of it completely not segregated properly, and seeing a lot of the sanitation workers and Parakarmika aunties and uncles working with their hands and doing this incredibly hard, tedious job of segregating really opened my eyes to the problem.
That's inspiring. Ritika, so my next question is to you. You started on this journey 7 years back. I know it might have brought with it a lot of learnings, but what are the major challenges that you face while practicing this lifestyle? And how easy or difficult it is to stick to your commitment in everyday life when you see that, not everybody follows it. So has it been easy?
I don't think it's a very black and white answer to say if it was easy or difficult for me to follow this lifestyle every day, because it depends on options, right? So, for example, one of the things that I try doing is thrifting clothes. Now, for a lot of things, I can easily find options, but let's say something like shoes, I don't find options for that easily, right? To buy like the sport shoes that would fit my size, or what with something like I would like wearing. I think so that's a challenge. Sometimes you also give in, when it comes to trying to do this with other people. So I live with my husband, and even though he's very supportive of this and does this as much as I do, but sometimes, for example, we've stepped out to eat, now we've forgotten to carry our own boxes, or we have no option but to then end up buying one, though we're very particular about carrying our own water bottles and cloth bags, etc. So we try our best, but I think sometimes you're just left with no choice, or you never preempted a situation and ended up following through, or you couldn't find an alternative. Like, for example, there are tooth powders available. Is there an alternative for finding toothpaste that easily, which is not expensive, which is regularly easily available in Hyderabad? I haven't found something like that, right? And then if I have to do that lifestyle change, people living with me would have to do a little bit of it as well. So that part becomes a little difficult, not being able to find alternatives, not being able to find what I rightly want, and then expecting others around me to, who live with me specifically day in, day out, to be doing that change. I think that's what is difficult in following through. Like, another example would be, I go to, let's say, a team meeting or an organizational event, and we all are having lunch, in plastic dabbas. Now, I would say a no to that. But there's so many people around me who are eating. Now the choice is that I step out and eat by myself, or do I eat there in that plastic box with everybody, right? So then some of those choices become a little hard, or I expect like everyone to like step out with me and eat, and not eat out of the plastic boxes. But we've already spent money on that. So some of these changes are also very difficult, to convince others and get them to see the logic as to why you're trying to do what you're trying to do.
Ritika is an educator for the past 14 years and an environment enthusiast for over a decade. She currently works in the learning and development sector, but Earth remains her first passion, and she loves to take action to protect it in whatever way she can. So, Ritika, again, my question to you is that in a country like ours, where there's so much food shortage, there's hunger, and there's food insecurity, unfortunately, a lot of food gets wasted every day in our households, in restaurants, and whatnot. So, as somebody who has been practicing this lifestyle for the past 7 years, how do you personally deal with food waste?
In terms of food waste, I think it begins from how you purchase and bring the food in. So, for example, when I buy stuff, if it's vegetables and fruits, they come in my own cloth bag. If it's groceries, like in terms of wheat and sugar and rice and things like that, then I would carry like, small gunny bags that I have, tiny ones, fill that up at like a, Reliance Smart or a big bazaar, and then bring that in. So, bringing in of the food is a lot more easier, right, in my own packaging. And so we buy whatever we know we need. Even breads, for that matter, we purchase from like a local bakery. The milk that comes to my house comes in like a glass bottle from Mulrasa, which we then, send the bottle back, and then they, send us like a new one. So it's constantly getting cycled. But in terms of food that gets wasted, I think what is compostable goes in the compost in the house, but what is not, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find like a better way, right? Sometimes the didi takes it and feeds it to the animals, etc., stray animals outside. But sometimes that's not possible, and unfortunately, that has to be dumped because it's already cooked food, and I can't put it in the in the compost.
So, Shipra, my last question is to you. Can you please walk us through the process of starting out on this journey? Any tips for new beginners? Any tips for people who want to kickstart the journey, and some baby steps that they can take that can encourage them further into doing bigger things?
I think one of the biggest things to do is to take out some time and do a waste audit, which means really slow down, measure the amount of waste I'm generating in a week, and see if I can take this to a month and see. So only dry waste can be collected and segregated and kept aside. And wet waste, say on alternate day basis or on a weekly basis, can be estimated. Ki, hey, this is how much wet waste I'm producing, and then actually sitting down one day, giving this half an hour of our time and calculating what are my biggest categories of waste. and from there on trying to see what are some types of waste I can cut down. Does it mean that I can look at a source of milk that comes in reusable bottles? Does this mean I can get rice in a kirana store loose than get it in a packet? Does this mean that I can carry my dabba, and I live in Bangalore, so hot chips is everywhere. I can carry my box and get it refilled by hot chips rather than buying a packet of chips outside. And step number two is to look at segregating our waste, really making sure that this does not mix, because like we say, once it's mixed, it's very hard to fix. And honestly, this is not worth the Parakarmika, the waste workers time and energy, and also anyone's money to sit and segregate waste which is so badly mixed. So really making sure, even if it's getting chutney in packets, if the chutney has to be used or eaten or disposed, that has happened, and then the packet is cleaned and dried and then sent to dry waste. So those things are super important. And then move on to step number three, which is recycling our waste. Find a local recycler. Usually most recyclers only accept something called high value materials, which are things like metal, because that gets them a good price. And the whole I would say economy of waste is also changing quite a bit. Prices for paper recycling really dropped a couple of years ago, right? So making sure that we don't we find a recycler who can do comprehensive sort of recycling, take our paper, glass, metal, and plastics as well, and milk packets too. To make this process easier, majority of most Indian household waste is our food waste, and that is where a lot of the crux lies. This is where the connect to climate crisis also lies. We have realized that food waste really should not travel so much. It can be very, very easily uh, responsibly managed at home by simply composting at home. Individual step that someone can take is to make sure they compost their waste at home. So these are like major four steps that I would suggest, which is do a waste audit, segregate, compost, and recycle.
Thank you, Shipra and Ritika, for your wonderful insights. That was truly inspiring. So, I am ready to take my baby steps towards a zero waste lifestyle. Are you? Keep listening to Ground Tales for more such stories from all corners of the country. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.